in the Orthodox Church and in general with Greek families, nobody gets a divorce. She had me write letters to all my aunts and uncles. Do you know this?
Mm-hmm.
Explaining to them what had happened. Nobody has to be held to the fire like that. So it was hard for me. And I honestly felt kind of completely lost because, he'd gone a divorce. I was switching careers, and I just kind of felt a little lost and I was craving more. Welcome to the AAA Mindset, the podcast where adversity isn't a setback. It's the setup. If life has challenged you and stepped on your confidence and forced you to pivot, you're in the right place. Here, we train the mind to face obstacles head on and turn them into fuel for growth, resilience, and success.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the AAA Mindset. We are on episode 7, and we are so excited for our story today. Today, we're going to be making our focus on the one and only Annastasia, who I think a lot of people see her online and they automatically think to themselves, like, she's got it all together. She is, look at her, she's beautiful, has amazing hair. But in all reality, she's an incredible fitness competitor. She's an incredible mother, a wonderful wife. And truly, like, looking at her on social media, you would say, wow, this girl's got it all together. But there has been a journey through that to get to who you are today. A lot of highs and lows. And so it's going to be really fun to walk through your journey with you, because it's one that I think will make a lot of you kind of laugh, maybe make some of you kind of go, wow, I had no idea. And some of you can definitely relate a lot. So we're super excited for this story today. So Annastasia, let's go ahead and walk back to where do you feel like your story kind of began? I feel like we all have those pivotal moments that you're like, okay, this is where I started like evolving into who I am. So where did that begin for you?
Well, thank you for having me on today. I feel just so excited to be a guest. Just kidding. I feel like my story is pretty mid compared to these two if you've listened to the previous.
Not at all.
But I'm happy to share nonetheless. So I grew up in Denver, Colorado. Actually grew up in Aurora. Family of 7, one of 5 kids, middle child, Greek Orthodox family. Yes, exactly. We've talked about that before. And my story starts when I was in the 5th grade and my godbrother was in med school at the time, and he snuck me into the room where they hide all the cadavers, and I saw my first cadaver at age 10?
10, 11, I don't know.
Yeah.
Most children at that age are like running from cadavers.
So,
and Anastasia's like, let me see.
So he did, because I was fascinated, right? And I distinctly remember the arm had been dissected already. And so the skin was away from the actual arm. And he's like, pull on the tendons of the arm. So I did. I pulled on the tendons and the fingers moved.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And at that point.
That's super creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy. I turned into a serial killer. Just kidding. No.
She is joking.
At that point,
she is fully joking.
At that point.
We hope.
I
really hope.
At that point, I was hooked on, fascinated with the human body, and I was fascinated with medicine. And I wanted to become a doctor. That was just like my goal. And so unfortunately, my brain had other plans for me because I was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 15, immediately medicated. Not that I couldn't become a physician, but I was a poor test taker. In college. I ended up, instead of becoming the pre-med route, I tacked on an education major as well and became a teacher right out of college. And so I ended up teaching middle school math and science.
Wow.
Yeah, I was terrible at math and somehow became a math teacher too.
I'm sorry for all those children that
and
were taught
also,
by her.
No, I was a great middle school teacher. I was great because, I'd be like,
it's just the math part that I'm kind of concerned about.
Yeah, but the science, oh my gosh. I would have put like, it'd be like, let's see what happens when we drop this pumpkin from this balcony and like study, physics. And we would do all kinds of stuff. I mean, I took them to all different field trips, and it was a great experience. But anyway, so I ended up falling in love with the human body, falling up in love with medicine. And what ended up that translating into was me loving preventative healthcare more so. And that's where I kind of came into health and fitness.
I love that. So. And obviously, you know what you're talking about. If anyone goes to her social media, you'll see that she's in phenomenal shape. Between these two, I'm the one lacking, but it's fine. It's fine. We all have goals.
You're not lacking. I'm sure you.
So
we're just a little more psycho about it than most.
We used to live a little heavier. Live a little heavier. It's fine.
I would hope that I lived heavier than you.
I would hope so too.
It might be leg day might be close.
That's true these days. We might have to have a competition on that.
Close.
That could be fun. So let's backtrack a little bit. So you talked about the fact that, know, you grew up in a Greek family.
Yeah.
Greek Orthodox, correct?
Yeah, very traditional.
Middle child of 5 children. Walk us through like what did that look like? What are, I don't want to say pressure of being Greek Orthodox, but like what does that look like as far as the dynamic of a family?
I just saw it firsthand on Greek Easter.
So Greek Easter was
Really?
last
Oh, man.
weekend, and I have to just tell this side story because it's really funny. There's a lot of church services, and we attempted to take our kids to a church service, which was a complete crapshoot.
I'll call it what it was.
But one
it
of
was
the
a shit show.
services, Good Friday, you know, we light candles and we carry the tomb around, that we call it epitaphion. And Adam is, you know, sitting in the aisle, basically, in the far left back. We had places, but Sophia and Bo were kind of wanting to run around. So I had taken them out. In the meantime, we had lit all these candles. So he had 2 candles. He was holding 2 candles, and wax like just dripping down on his forehead.
And I was on the very edge of this. I was on the last seat. There was no more room in the pews, so they had a designated chair. So I was in the designated chair, and I was directly looking at a pillar. So I was staring at a pillar with 2 candles,
Not understanding a word, 'cause
having
it's all
wax
Greek.
drip all over my hand as my children are running rampant around this church, and my wife is trying to convince me that this is a great thing.
And if you know my brother, his patience, I mean, he's got the patience of an angel. I'll tell you that. So I can
Oh,
only
really?
imagine.
Real patience.
I'm just kidding.
Do I?
I'm totally
Wow,
kidding.
you learn something new every day. about
I am
yourself.
just kidding.
Okay.
I
You
mean,
know,
you know.
I get that from our father. It's fine.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, exactly. That's true. Facts on that one.
Do you want to tell what it's like to be in a Greek family, or no?
I mean, it's a lot. You know, it is.
Have
I
you
mean,
ever seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
You
Is
see
it similar?
I was gonna say
There's
see
a lot of similarities,
Okay,
but okay, so let me explain. My parents are not from Greece. So my mom's parents are, and my dad's parents were not. They grew up in Chicago, but everybody's a generation from Greece, essentially. So I think I'm like third, third generation.
Okay.
So, you know, at this point, some things have become more Americanized, but there is still that heavy emphasis on tradition.
Mhm.
There's still that heavy emphasis on family expectation, seeking approval, really looking up to your elders, respecting your elders' wishes for you, that kind of thing. And I especially did that growing up. I have an older brother and an older sister. I would seek their approval, seek my parents' approval, kind of try to follow in their footsteps or look up to them, you know.
So would you say you were like the people pleaser?
Yes and no, but I was also the kid that got in trouble all the time. I mean,
Our
I pushed
kids
the
are
limits. I
double
think
screwed.
Oh, boy.
I think I gave my parents the most gray hairs.
Gray hairs. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I gave my parents the most gray hair. Actually, no, my brother definitely did, but I feel like I was always caught.
What?
You were not always caught.
Yeah, I'm like you, Abby.
Yeah. I actually was probably the best of the 3.
I just didn't give a shit if I was caught.
That's true. Our older sister
and that's
definitely
kind of
did more naughty things, but she was never caught, and I was.
Right.
I guess that's.
And then I guess I just let it all out.
Yeah. So you were the same way. You were like always.
So,
you were
yeah.
always caught.
But with that being said, I also was a people pleaser. And
Yeah.
so, like, you know, my friends would be like, well, come out, sneak out. And I would want to please them. And then
Yes.
also, like, you know, trying to please everybody. In fact, have you ever taken one of those strength finder tests? Like,
Oh, yeah.
my number 1 was wooing people.
That's my number 1.
What?
Yes.
Oh my
Stop
God.
it. Yes.
See?
Yep. And then competition.
Yes.
And
competition.
communication.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we need to put ours together.
We do. So I definitely, you know, sought out approval. And maybe that was a middle child thing again, just trying to, you know, be noticed. But there's definitely in a Greek household a lot of family expectations. So
Mhm. Yeah. What would you say? Like, what are some of those expectations?
a serious expectation would be to definitely take your education and your career seriously. Definitely become a productive member of society, also grow your family.
Okay.
So as a female, I feel like there was this underlying sort of expectation of like, you know, you're going to go to college. My parents wanted us to go to school, go to college, value education, which most parents do. It was kind of like, okay, you know, I saw my older sister, she got married, she had babies, you know, that was kind of the the path that I was supposed to follow in, if you will, where it was like, okay, let's get into a relationship. And then after that, you're supposed to, manage the household, have a baby and do all the Greek things and be
Yes.
this mother and,
Yep.
That kind of thing. So there was a little bit of that expectation and a rush to get there. Like, if you're not married at certain, 25, or what's wrong with you? If you're not having babies by 25, what's wrong with you? And that kind of thing.
So did you feel like you were pressured to get into a relationship younger because that was kind of the expectation? Adam, plug your ears. Just kidding.
So not necessarily pressure to get into a relationship. And I think if I look back, it's not like my mom was like, why aren't you married yet? It was nothing like that. But I feel like those were the footsteps I was supposed to follow in because honestly, I was such a bad kid that I was seeking that approval from my parents again. So I wanted to please them by, okay, I'm in this relationship. I guess the next steps are to get married without actually seeing I should take a little bit more time experiencing long-term relationships and long, stick around and experiencing what it's like to, be with somebody versus being independent. And so in college, I ended up, meeting somebody at 18 and became in this long committed relationship and got married right out of college. I was pushing, we got to get married. We got to get married,
How old were you?
And I was 20 when we got engaged and 21 right outside of college. It took me an extra year to graduate college.
Me too. Abby, you want to chime in on this one?
It took me 10 years, so doing real good, girl.
Abby can chime in on that one.
That's another story.
She had Van Wilder. She whooped his ass.
That's another story for another day.
Yeah.
Hey, but the point is, I got a degree.
That's it.
Okay.
And how are you utilizing that?
I'm not at all.
Me either.
Besides, I got a degree in communications and I talk a lot.
Great. And I have a degree in criminal justice, and I do nothing with that. So, but I had a great time.
You did.
Yeah.
So you get married.
Yeah. So I ended up getting married at a really young age, and realizing that we're two different people. I ended up going a separate way, essentially. And, at that point, this is where the heaviness comes into my life because with tradition, because in the Orthodox Church and in general with Greek families, nobody gets a divorce. And guess what? I found myself at the age of, at that point, I think I was 29 getting a divorce.
Oh, wow. So you were married for
a good bit.
A good amount of time. Yeah.
So I gave it a good old college try.
I think it was a great try. Yeah.
But I did. I ended up getting a divorce, and my family was really devastated by that because, like I said, nobody in my family has ever gotten a divorce, not a single one. And, this is pretty common for a lot of American families, but for our family, it was not common. And it was pretty devastating and kind of almost sort of an embarrassment to my family in their community. So my mom, begrudgingly on my part, she had me write letters to all my aunts and uncles. Do you know this? Explaining to them what had happened. Yeah. So I was a little not only did I feel so shameful that I was getting a divorce because it was the first in my family, but then I had to explain to my relatives what had happened. And then on top of it, I went to church and I had to do confession and explain to the priest.
Wow.
So this is not a normal process. Normally when people get a divorce in America, they just move their separate ways. Nobody has to be held to the fire like that. So it was hard for me. And I honestly felt kind of completely lost because, here I am. We'll get into this in a minute, but I had, gone a divorce. I was switching careers. And I just kind of felt a little lost and I was craving more. So,
yeah. So what did you do after that? After you got divorced, where did you go? Obviously you move out. Did you?
So before that, prior to that, I had since college, this is kind of a side note. I don't talk about this much without him, but I had
stuff. Can't wait to hear it, guys. Let's go.
Again, earmuffs.
All these things are coming out.
I love this. Confessions. This is confessions.
Adam, go potty.
Oh my God.
Can't wait.